When I think about my life as an activist, if I can use that term, and I think I can, given how much
Definitely.
work I've done to try and affect social policy, I think back to Harvey. I think back to those initial encounters with him that were really inspiring. I mean, he was kind of a larger than life person. And yet, because it was so painful when he died, I really didn't consciously think about him very much during my sort of, graduate school program or early years. And then about 15 years ago, a film based on his life came out with Sean Penn. Maybe you've seen it, called Milk.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to see that movie with my then husband and a couple friends. And it was interesting to me because I thought, oh, this is going to be intense. It's going to take you right back to San Francisco in 1978. And I just wasn't sure I was emotionally ready for that journey. But I watched the whole movie with dry eyes the whole time. And yet, I was really taken with what an accurate job they did, at least in terms of my recollection. Now, Sean Penn had bigger biceps than, Harvey did. He was a skinny little guy with a huge mouth. But then, at the end of the movie, the credits, they show the actual people. They showed Harvey. They showed Dan White. They showed George Moscone, Dianne Feinstein. And I don't know if I've ever lost it so intensely as I did then. Because all that stuff that had sort of been bottled up and neglected for so many years, it all came back to me. And here I am in a theater years later in Seattle, but I'm right back in San Francisco in 78. And I was doubled over in such pain. And so my friend said, okay, calm down. And I said, well, I can't, because I was there. I was witness to all of this. They even at the end had a shot of the actual candlelight parade when we marched from the Castro to City Hall that night. I was one of those dots. And so they took me down the street and said, here, let's get you a martini. Well, I found out something. When you're really, really upset, drinking actually doesn't help very much. It just makes you crying drunk. And I was so man, I was wrecked. But something interesting happened the next morning. I woke up after this just emotionally, and I could still feel it here in the gut where I had been crying so hard. And I said to myself, all right, so what are you going to do today to end homophobia? What are you going to do today to make the world a more positive place for your community? Don't lose sight of that. That's your mission in life. And every day since then, that's how I greet the morning. And it's a positive thing, Mm-hmm. And some days it's just a little tiny thing. It's not like every day I write a big manifesto, but I feel like that's a responsibility that I was given and a privilege that I have to be able to do that kind of work. And so now, when I spend so much time focused on the lives of refugees, it is partly because, well, in large part, it's because American psychology has historically been so ethnocentric, I guess is the right word.
Mm-hmm.
We focus on ourselves, and of course that makes sense. We have access to ourselves to study, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that there is immense suffering going on all around the world. And, let's not lose sight of that. Mm-hmm. So that movie actually reminded me of how I want to start the day.
Wow. Well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good thing. I mean, grief, I don't know. I mean, I wish I sometimes do that exercise where, okay, if you could go back to yourself at age 25 or 35 or 45, what kind of conversation would you want to have? And when I think back to that time when Harvey was killed and I was so kind of at loose ends, I wish I could have said to myself, please be patient. This is really horrible right now, but I assure you it's going to lead you to something really good. It's going to transform your life if only you can just get through the grief first. That's not easy when you're in acute pain.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like words. But it has been true in my life over and over again.